Hello and welcome to the second devlog of my game, Ability Arena. In this devlog, I'm going to be going over the Ice ability's second move, major reworks and additions to current systems, and some new abilities. I'll also be going a lot more in depth into the abilities comparatively to the last devlog. The first major change to the game is how hit detection works. As stated in Devlog 1, I used raycasting for the hit detection. The issue with it was the fact that it's pretty difficult to accurately hit enemies, as there's only a single line dictating collisions. I then learned about shapecasting, which is like raycasting, but instead of hitting enemies with a laser, you throw a brick at them. The combat system is being reworked heavily, for the sake of disparity between different abilities. The first big change I made was ability M1 speed, which is now different depending on which ability you currently have equipped. I also have different damage values depending on which ability you're using. So now you have abilities that are able to be juggernauts and some that are speedy low damagers. After reworking M1s, I also decided to make it so different abilities have different movement speeds, along with completely removing dashing as a system. Instead, I'm now using a sprinting system, as dashing felt too derivative of a Battlegrounds game and didn't fit the current style I'm going for with the game. I also decided that instead of having 3 skills, there will only be 2 normal skills for each ability, but some will have support skills that will be your M2. One other thing for future reference is that each player will only have up to 100 health. The final major change is how progression's gonna work. This part is still very much in development, so comment on any changes or ideas you have for it. Power is still the predominant way to unlock abilities, but there are now 5 major sub-power values that you need to upgrade depending on which abilities you want. Fire, water, grass, light, and dark. Each one is leveled either by getting hits and kills with an ability of that element, or doing quests, which currently aren't implemented. This also means that mastery is being scrapped. This system's basically the new equivalent to that, though it could return. And I'm also considering adding a few more sub-power systems such as like weapon stat, but I'm not 100% sure though, so comment below your ideas. The map is mostly the same, but I slightly expanded the main island and added a little temple that will tie into some quests once I add that system. After doing all that, I started work on the ice ability. The ice ability has a slow M1, only does 2 damage and has a mediocre range, as it's primarily focused on its skills, which are Freeze, as previously shown in Devlog number 1, and Shatter, which I explained in the first devlog but didn't go fully in depth on its damage and speed. Freeze removes the frozen status effect but does 20 damage in the process, making it a very powerful ability. I feel like it might need to be nerfed, but that'll be decided in the playtest whenever the game's in a stable state. I also decided that Ice is going to be a normal speed character but has a pretty fast sprint speed. I also added a visual to the player's character, an ice arm. This arm will only show up if you're using the ice ability. I still haven't made any VFX for the character, but that'll be worked on in a future video. After doing that, I started work on a new ability, the sword ability. The sword ability was something that was created to an extent whenever the first video released, but it hadn't yet been finished, so I neglected to put it in there. Sword has a slow M1 because it's a high damager, as it does 4.5 damage. Despite being the third one to be made, Sword is the second ability to unlock, so it only has 1 skill, the down slam. This ability does 15 damage and has a high knockback. Sword has a pretty normal character speed and a decent sprint speed. The animations aren't done yet, as there are only 2 M1 animations, and the skill animation will be getting a rework eventually. Electric is a new ability that relies entirely on speed. This ability is incredibly weak in terms of base damage, as it only does 1 damage. But don't let that disillusion you. This ability can be very powerful, but you have to play it right. Electric is built entirely on speed, which means you have to be very evasive. Its M1 speed is astronomically fast, making it pretty viable for combat currently. There are no currently implemented skills, but I do have concepts for them. The first one is the support skill, Charge. This skill can be activated anywhere with no cooldown, but you're vulnerable while using it, and still are after a second, as the skill charges your electricity meter, which allows you to stun enemies for longer. The second ability that hasn't been implemented yet is the Stun Whip, which pulls enemy players towards you and stuns them. The electricity meter is important because none of the skills in Electricity's arsenal have any cooldowns, only electricity meter requirements, making it a very good ability if you play tactically. Well, if you have any ideas for abilities, make sure to comment your ideas below. as I'm planning on implementing some fan-made ability ideas. Anyway, that's all I've gotten done in the past few days. So make sure to like if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you want to see the next devlog.